Hey everybody, it's Overkill here with a new video. So, I thought before I started recording some video or some campaign videos today, I would put together this video for you guys, as I've received quite a few questions about the recent Vampire Counts news, relating to the live stream and the battles and such. And I've been kind of putting it off. But with the release of the Vampire Counts roster yesterday, I thought today would be a great time to do it. And also, I'm going to just quickly say thank you all so much for 3,000 subscribers. It's a great feeling. Recording this now is a week before the channel reaches 1 year old, and we managed to hit 3.1k subscribers in just under a year, and that is an amazing feeling. Thank you all so much. The success of the channel has been amazing. And hopefully in the future it just gets better and better. That would be great. But thank you all so much. We'll be sure to celebrate doing something on the channel's birthday. But anyway, let's talk about what this video is actually about. So first of all, I guess we'll just talk about the vampire roster. So we are finally confirmed the two legendary lords, although it was quite obvious. We have Manfred and Heinrich Kemmler. So Manfred is a caster / melee race leader, and he knows the lore of vampires and the lore of death, which isn't surprising. We've seen him on the live streams for the Sword of Unholy Power. He has the faction-wide trait Ancient Cunning, so with Manfred as your leader, all of your armies will move more swiftly on the campaign map, and units of Graveguard and Black Knights cost less dark magic to maintain. So instead of gold, maybe dark magic is the economy? Interesting. We then have Heinrich Kemmler, who is a caster for the lore of vampires, and his faction-wide trait is Lichmaster. So, having recognized the limits that mortality placed upon him in early years, Kemmler made it his life's work to escape them. If you choose Heinrich Kemmler as a legendary lord, the cost of raising dead is reduced, and necromancers are cheaper to maintain. Now, the raising dead is good, but the necromancers part is a little weird, as Heinrich isn't exactly one to like the other necromancers. Interesting, but either way, it's gameplay mechanics, whatever. It's good. We have lords, so we have a master necromancer who is a caster in the lore of vampires, and then a vampire lord who is a melee caster for the lore of vampires. Very good. For heroes, we have the banshee, which is melee, necromancer, which is a caster for the lore of vampires, a vampire, which is melee caster for lore of death, which is fine. They just did that for gameplay purposes, of course, because the vampire lord has the lore of vampires. They made it different. In the tabletop, the vampire has access to a bunch of lores, but oh well, nothing too big there. It's just gameplay mechanics, really. The White King is melee. Interesting. And I mean, to be fair, why would you want lore of vampires on the vampire anyway? If you're leading with regardless of what you lead your army with, you're going to have lore vampires. So having a third or second, whatever, lore vampires caster isn't really that useful. Now you can have a mix of death and vampires. So yeah, some people have been complaining about that. There's been a lot of complaints, and that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video. I want to address some of the things that people are complaining about and kind of hopefully lay them to rest with at least the people that watch me, just so you're not as confused or anything about what's going on with these Warhammer videos. But anyway, we have mounts. So we have zombie dragons, skeletal steeds, barded skeletal steeds, hell steeds, which are kind of like Pegasuses, I believe, nightmares, and barded nightmares. So very cool. Skeleton warriors, skeleton spearmen, zombies, graveguard, great weapons, crypt ghouls, Karn race. So basically, I was quite close with my predictions in my Warhammer faction video for the Vampire Counts. The only thing I missed was the Karn Wraiths, and they are in the melee infantry, so there you go. We have Crypt Horrors in melee monstrous infantry, Vargheists in melee monstrous flying infantry. For cavalry, we have Black Knights with lances and barding, Hex Wraiths, vehicles are the Black Coach, melee War Beasts are Direwolves, War Beasts flying are Fellbats, melee monsters are Vargulfs, and melee monsters flying, we have the Terrorgeist. And then CA mentioned that the roster will be complete at the time of launch. We'll be adding an additional unit as free downloadable content at a later date. So I'm hoping it's the Blood Knights. A lot of people are talking about that. If it isn't the Blood Knights, that's going to be a huge blow to the Vampire Counts. It literally doesn't make sense to not have them, because the vampires need them, because they're some of the best cavalry in the game. And the vampires are definitely going to need them to overcome armies such as Chaos, the Empire, basically any army, because any army that has an advantage over them, because Chaos is obviously a better melee race, which is of course one of the strengths of the vampire counts. So if the Chaos are better at it, well, that's a problem. And the Empire and Dwarfs just have a range advantage, so they can pummel these guys before they even get close. So the Blood Knights are definitely needed, and hopefully they are the army that is added in. But I digress. Hopefully we can hope that that's the unit that they're going to add in. But some other points, this is what the rest of the video is going to be about, is the sort of unholy power battle. Now, I stayed up to watch the live stream since it started like 10:30 p.m. for me, as I'm on the East Coast, so it wasn't too bad. Definitely not like the people in England who had to wait till 2 a.m. or something like that. And minor grievances aside, I have no problem. I know a lot of the CA people, so I definitely was not upset with their performance or anything. A lot of people, the chat was exploding with the performance of the people playing the battle, such as Joey playing in slow mode, which is fine. I mean, whatever. She does, like, just because she's a dev on the game doesn't mean that she has to like be a pro at it. They had Prince of Macedon on, and everybody knows Prince of Macedon is a good player. He's, you know, maybe not for the new games. I'm not quite sure. He does videos for the old games. That's the ones that I watch. So whatever, but he did manage to lose, and people were freaking out saying how much he sucks and all that. Like, just calm down. They're just showing it off. They don't need to win. What's the difference between showing it off and losing and showing it off and winning? It's not, as long as they show the things, which was something that they kind of skipped on. They didn't do magic that much. They didn't do many close-ups or anything, but that's fine. They were just showing off the battle. I watched the whole thing. I was happy with it. But then the one that I watched more closely and actually got more involved with, talking in chat, talking with them, was the Craig and Christos stream for the same battle. They played the battle 3 times as well, and they did a lot better job. They spent about like 20 minutes, zoomed in on all of the units, basically. They were doing lots of magic casting, showing Raised Dead a lot, doing a lot of just close-ups and battle shots, showing all the units, and they did a great job, and yet people still complained about that one because of some AI things. And the fact that they lost 2 of the battles, but that's minor. Now, one of the biggest things that I don't understand the hate for right now is people bringing up and just freaking out about suicide generals. Now, yes, the orc generals ran in, but if you go back and watch the Craig and Christos stream, in the first battle at least, I watched the first one over, the orc general was supported. It's just that the units that he had died, and he was left alone. So what did you really want him to do? He did try to run away. In the first battle, the first orc war boss they attack, or boss, whatever he was, that they fight, tries to run away, but the Black Knights chase him and end up killing him. There's nothing wrong with that. These aren't the generals of days past, where they have full units of 160, 120 bodyguards, and yet they die first. These are individuals who are stronger than those entire units of old games. Some of them are melee are casters. Some of them are just excellent melee fighters. And with the orcs, and that's really the only AI we've seen is the orcs. Bretonia, in the battle against Bretonia, they didn't charge their casters in until the very end, their generals. The battle was almost over by the time they charged in Fey Le Fey in the Bretonian battle, and yet people were complaining about that. Like, why wouldn't you? It's a last-ditch effort to try to win the battle with using your legendary lord. They're not squishy. They're not weak. If they're supporting units, they can destroy people. And the same thing goes for the orc war bosses. They were destroying units. Craig and Christos, I believe, they lost a unit of direwolves against the war boss. Now, direwolves, of course, aren't the strongest unit, but just fighting the war boss after his units left him, or were broken or whatever, he killed an entire unit by himself. And that's what Warhammer's going to be about, guys. And that's what we need. We need to just calm down, let CA do what they're doing, and just show us what they have done. And just take it with a grain of salt. I don't understand. Like, I watch these live streams, just loving everything I've seen, because they're showing off all these things that I love, personally, all these Warhammer things. And people are just exploding over the minute things that they don't understand. Like, lots of people that are upset about these things are Total War fans and don't know about Warhammer. In Warhammer, they've shown us time and time again that lords are very powerful. There's even a clip, which I don't understand. People were freaking out saying the lords were throwing themselves into the fight and dying. Before the lines clash, you can see the goblins and orcs protecting their 4 shamans while they have a war boss in the front. And I'll try to get you a picture to show while I'm talking about this. That's not bad. That's a really good move by the AI. And yet people still complain, saying they're suicidal. By the end of the battle, yes, the shamans are in the fight. They have to be. What else would they do? Just run away and get run down? No, they're in the fight. They can still fight for themselves. Of course, goblin shamans are going to be weak, so they will die first. But there were orc shamans there, and they didn't die. They were some of the last ones left. By the end of the battle, there is an orc war boss at the end, the same one that's in the front lines of what I'm talking about. And he's still fighting. These aren't the old days of generals dying instantly. These aren't the days of generals leading from the front and then dying, with being some of the first people in their unit to die. These are singular generals that have more health than multiple units put together. And they're so powerful that they can kill. Every lord has an AoE attack, it seems. So they're going to be killing multiple infantry every attack. This isn't the same as old games, and that's what people need to understand and just look at and realize. I'm not bashing on anybody for their views. Of course, there are things to criticize about these streams, but people have been asking what my personal opinion is, and I thought it was great. Again, the event could have been better. The initial Ides of March, there was a lot of hype for not much delivery. It was the one battle with 2 or 3 dev talk breaks. They promised that the event was going to be 3 to 4 hours. It turned out to be 2.5. They teased at a siege battle, which we didn't get, which was whatever. I was happy with the battle we seen. So there are things to criticize, of course, and I just can't criticize anything about the AI really. People are freaking out, saying that they charge blindly, but that's the whole point. They mentioned multiple times that the left, or was it the right, one of the flanking forces was to attack you and distract you, while the other joined up with the goblins up on the hill, and they would join create a bigger force. So that's why one of the orcs was suicidal, if you want to use that term. His units and him charge blindly into you to distract you. That's what they mentioned that. And yet the war boss doesn't die for a good 6 minutes, 5 minutes into the battle. I just don't understand where people are getting this suicidal general stuff from. Yes, they're gonna die if they stay there for the entire time, but that's what they do. It's Warhammer. It's what it is. It's not bad AI. It's what else is he gonna do? He's not a ranged unit. He's not a caster. He's not just gonna sit there. Sure, he could have ran back and joined the big force, but he was already in the fight with the rest of his units. It's not really fair to say the AI is bad because his unit's routed and he was stuck in combat or charged in to do more damage. It's an orc. That's the only AI we've really seen. There's absolutely no suicidal generals in the ambush of the Thundering Falls. Knobnails casts spells into the main lines of your dwarfs, and he charges in at the end when his units are breaking. There's nothing that's not bad at all. So I'm not quite sure where people are getting this information from, saying that the generals are all suicidal and just running in and getting themselves killed on purpose because their AI is bad. It's what happens. The shamans stay back. The mages and casters stay back, and the melee units go first. They get into the fight. That's what they're there for. For example, if I'm playing as the Empire and I have Karl Franz, I'm gonna charge him, I'm gonna use him, especially if he's on Deathclaw. I'm gonna get him in the front ranks and support him with some infantry, and he's going to devastate enemy units. That's what he's there for. Your casters are the ones that you need to protect, and if the shamans were charging in at the beginning of the battle and dying, yes, I would complain, but they didn't do that, and they didn't die until the end. That's how you won the sort of unholy power battle, was by killing 4 enemy shamans, and they didn't die until the end. Christos and Craig almost lost all of the battles because of them not killing the shamans fast enough. And once they did, Craig managed to pull it off by killing the 4 of them, and the enemies all broke because the battle was over. So, and that was right at the end. It wasn't extremely in their favor, if I recall. And it happened at the Ides of March live stream as well. I believe that they were doing kind of bad, but then the shamans died, so they won. So it's just, I don't understand why people are trying to ruin this game before it even comes out by saying so many things about it. It's fair to have criticism, It's fair to have an opinion, but it's not fair to bash the game for every single little thing that you notice, to the point where you can spread your opinions to people who may not know enough about the game to forge their own right opinions. Not right opinions, their own opinions, sorry. It's just not okay. And I hope that some people have kind of learned from the things I've said. I'm not right, of course, and this is all my opinion. You can hate on the orcs charging in and fighting all you want, but they aren't suicidal. They're not dying instantly. They do a lot of damage. As I've said, the orc war bosses that charge in and attack did lots of damage to the enemy units. Losing 2 units for a war boss out of 3 armies is probably like not too bad. So, and this is another thing. I forgot to mention this when I was talking about the AI. We've seen units trying to pull out. In a certain battle, I'm not sure if it was the first one, but one of the 3 that Craig and Christos did. Goblin Wolf Riders that accompanied the first war boss charged in. They did a good charge. They did quite a bit of damage, and they noticed as soon as Craig was trying to flank around, they pulled out of the way of the flanking force. Of course, they were still caught because they weren't fast enough, but they tried it. They attempted it. So if you can say that that's bad AI, I'll tell you, it's sure as hell of a lot better than the old games, where an enemy army just charges into one unit, and as soon as you bring in your strongest units to flank them, they're just like, oh yeah, whatever, just charge into me and break me instantly. That's improvement, and we've seen plenty of examples of the AI actually flanking with cavalry as opposed to charging right into the front. I can't even tell you how many times in Attila cavalry charges into my pikes and spears and dies instantly. I can't even tell you how many times that's happened, especially enemy general cav. So I just don't understand. People are just trying to hate on this game before it comes out. Every time Chaos DLC is mentioned, people just try to destroy everything about it. It's just, people need to grow up, and as soon as the game comes out, it might be terrible, who knows, but if it's good, everybody who hated on it senselessly is just gonna look terrible, and they already kind of do. There literally is 3 groups. There's people who love this game, there's people who are just there to watch it, see what's up, and then there's people who don't have any intention of playing this game, and they just hate it, giving all these random reasons that they've heard from maybe YouTubers or just in chat on stuff or comments, and they're just spreading these things around, just slandering the name of Warhammer and Total War. And it just doesn't make any sense. Why are you there? Is your life so bad that all you can do for entertainment is go on live streams and try to bash people having fun for these things? Either way, I've rambled on a lot. Hopefully I covered all the points that I wanted to in this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, but also this is a bit of a rant. Sorry. Maybe I should put a rant warning in the beginning or something, but hopefully you guys watched the entire video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I got some points across that are at least right. I might sound like a complete bigot for these points I've made, but oh well, that's where I stand on these things. So hopefully you enjoyed my ranting. Hopefully you got some entertainment out of this video. And yeah, well guys, I will see you in the next video. But until then, this has been Overkill as always. Goodbye.